Priya, you were all of 23 when you took over Park Hotels. You're the first lady of Indian hospitality, helming such a large listed organization. How was it for you back then?
So I started, as I said, a year and a half before my father died. And then there was no real choice because my father was killed while visiting our tea estates in Assam.
Can you tell us about the struggles and the learnings you went through at that time?
Well, numerous, and I'll probably have to break it up into decades.
When did you take up the leadership of the company?
I created my own titles because there was nobody else. I guess officially, I never had an appointment letter, I can tell you that much.
You sort of transformed hospitality in India in many ways. If you can tell us a little bit more about that and about the whole design philosophy which you brought into Indian hospitality.
So I was influenced by a couple of things. One is, of course,
You were awarded the Padma Shri in 2012. Can you tell us more about the experience?
being awarded the Padma Shri was quite a shock and was unexpected because
How has life changed after your very successful listing?
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's very different. I mean, you're completely in focus and your every minute thing that you do is in focus.
It's very tough to build hotels in different states. How you manage that? Because even today we find it extremely tough.
We have a team, but as you said, it's all local, right? So you have to then hire local talent and
Things which you find are very important for young people who are joining hospitality. What do you think they should do, like in terms of education, in terms of exposure? Joining us today is the First Lady of Indian Hospitality, Priya Paul. She's the chairperson of the Park Hotels. She took over when she was just 23. She redefined what boutique and design mean to hospitality in India. She's also been recognized with the Padma Shri. We'd like to welcome her. So, Priya, you were all of 23 when you took over Park Hotels and not in great circumstances. Can you tell us about that and how you how was it for you back then?
so, as you know, Anant, I'm part of a family business, and one of the businesses happened to be hotels. And the business at that time when I joined the business, which was maybe about 2 years before that event, we had businesses in shipping, in tea, real estate, and of course, other philanthropic pursuits. And when I was 10, I pretty much decided that I wanted to join the family business. But did I say, okay, fine, I want to be in hotels, or I want to be in tea, or I want to be in shipping? That was not the conversation I had with my father. But it was very much understood that when I finished college in the US and I was there, that I would come back and work in the business. So my ideal path was really to finish college. I was at Wellesley College studying economics, and then go and work for a couple of years on Wall Street. And, that was very much the flavor of the month. Unfortunately for me, there was this whole stock market crash in 1987. So, 88, I went through the recruitment, looked for jobs, didn't find anything, came back. And then my father said, no, enough is enough. Tomorrow is the first day of your work. That was 1988, July 1st to be exact. So quite a few years ago. And he said, tomorrow is the first day of your work. And, you've been just, forget about like trying to go back. And I really did thought that I would go back in September and start this whole recruitment thing again. That was not to be. And in a way, it was fortuitous in a way because I got to spend a year and a half working under my father. So at that time, the Park Delhi had opened in 1987. Okay, so just a very short while before. And that's the reason why my parents had moved to Delhi to finish that project. And my dad wanted to be based out of New Delhi. So I started working with him and I was the marketing manager. The hotel, the day I joined, had 7 rooms or 8 rooms out of 230 occupied. So it was a very tough time to be joining that industry. And basically, I had to build the business with him and with the whole team of people that we put in and built it from scratch because, there was none of this hospitality boom that we see now. So I started, as I said, a year and a half before my father died. And then your question was, how did I take it over? And then there was no real choice because my father was killed while visiting our tea estates in Assam. And, basically all of us had to step up to the plate. My mother became chair. I was looking after one hotel, which was Park Delhi. I'll tell you more about those experiences. My sister had just graduated, so she was put in charge of the shipping company. My brother was still in college, so he continued with college and joined the business 2 years later.
That could not have been easy. You lost a younger brother before that, and then you lost your father. And at that time, there were very few women in business. And for you to be helming real estate heavy, which is hospitality, a business at that point of time, could not have been easy. Can you tell us about the struggles and about the learnings you went through at that time?
Well, numerous, and I'll probably have to break it up into decades because everything, there were so many things happening. So certainly those first few years, there were emotional and personal, just not the tragedy, but challenges. And for not just me, but my siblings, my mother, my uncle, one of my uncles was still in business. And so it was actually coping with those on an everyday basis, but also the challenges of the business, because the moment something like this happens, everybody tells you, oh my God, how will you manage? What will happen? How do you, you're alone while you're handling things and everything. But anyway, I think what was great is that under the guidance of my uncle Jeet Paul and my mother, who took over very in these tragic circumstances even more than me, we all held it together. And I think what we really did in the 90s, all five of us, was really consolidate all the businesses we were in, give new direction, and provide the leadership that the businesses needed. So the businesses were large and very diverse. So I think everyone stepped up and rose to the occasion. And, sometimes the hardest thing is going every day to the office and managing things when inside you have a lot of emotional turmoil. So I would say that was like the 90s, and that was happening. And I, certainly on the hotel front, there were many changes that I started doing in the 90s because I had the full responsibility.
So I think you sort of transformed hospitality in India in many ways with Aqua, someplace else, I think Pasha, the multiple outlets which the Park Hotels and sort of even I have grown up with. So if you can tell us a little bit more about that and about the whole design philosophy which you brought into Indian hospitality, not just the Park Hotels, right? Because a lot of hotel chains went and wanted to emulate you.
Thank you. That's good. That's good to know. So that whole journey. So my father died in 1990. I started looking at these three hotels, and I had, there was already a renovation program that my father had started in the Park Calcutta, which was the first hotel in 1967. And at that stage, I had this Park Calcutta, 1967, old property, very illustrious in many ways, but had seen a lot of hard times with unions and things like that in the 80s. So my father had started the Delhi hotel was brand new. And there was another hotel in Visakhapatnam, which was Andhra Pradesh's first five-star hotel. So that had also opened in 1968 and also had seen mixed fortunes. And, as I said before, hospitality was not this kind of rocking business that it is now. So in 1991, that's when liberalization happened. We started looking at our hotel portfolio, and rather I started looking and said, okay, fine, how can I be different and interesting? And I was, as you said, 23 years old. I said, do these hotels have to be normal, boring hotels, or can they be something fun and different? So I was influenced by a couple of things. One is, of course, that I saw what Ian Schrager was doing in the early mid-80s in New York. And I said, oh my God, hotels don't have to be this boring brass and only marble and things. I can have fun and be creative. And I had to have creative side, which of course has come through this. And I think what also happened is I looked at how we could create food and nightlife as differentiation points. And all this got articulated, I would say, by the mid-90s into a vision which is called Leadership Through Differentiation. And we've had the vision and mission statement we wrote in 1994. It's still relevant today. And it was also to create this kind of design-led hotel collection, which differentiated itself through music, food, fun, fashion. And we were pioneers in many of these things. And the idea was to actually curate contemporary culture. I mean, you see a lot of companies doing that now the world over, the local and the whatever and all that stuff. I think we were I was very, wanted to ensure that the hotels were buzzing, happening places in the cities that they were in. So it was whether it was Calcutta or Visakhapatnam or Delhi, and there were only 3 hotels in the 90s. How would they be buzzy? How would local people keep on coming to it and visiting? And therefore, you have the footfalls, you have exciting food and beverage concepts, exciting bars. You talk about someplace else. Someplace else in Calcutta opened in 1994. It turns 31 years this month in August.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I think the longevity has to do with the fact that it's always creative, it's always innovative. in its events and the type of way it does music events, it does food, and the customers love it. And I think with any space you have to constantly reinvent it, and that's what I think our team does well. I kind of say that creativity is in our DNA, and I like to think that people enjoy that because they can come to work and there are no really limits on what they can do. I hope that works down the line, of course, but
Of
yeah.
course. Uh, so you've been redefining yourself as well. And sorry, you just launched, I think, the Park Collection, which is I don't know if it's a recently launched brand, but you've got a beautiful hotel in Patiala, which you just launched. Uh, what's the vision with that?
Okay, so let me just tell you, let me
Little
step
bit-
back a bit because I think it's important to understand how our brand's architecture is.
Absolutely.
So we have right now about 35 hotels. We have the Park, which are typically city center, large hotels designed. Each one is different and they have a different, let's say, idea behind it. The Park Chennai is all about film because actually it was in the Gemini Film Studio lot. So there's a story to it and it's very rooted in the local place, and then it's taken forward. It's taken forward through the art and the design and everything else. Then you have Delhi, which has been done with the 5 elements, and the elements also referring to astronomy because Jantar Mantar is opposite. And so we have different stories for each hotel, and they're all different. Then we have something called the Park Collection, which are 20 to 40 room boutique properties, unique locations, destinations. The first two are in Goa. One is on the beach, and one is a adults only hotel by the river. Then we had our first heritage property, which is actually in Sirampur, just north of Calcutta. And it's a property called the Denmark Tavern, which was, according to our records, what we found out is it opened in 1786 and as a hotel. And it was called the Denmark Tavern, and it was for people who were going up and down the coast trading with the Nawabs. So we've revitalized that. And then recently we've opened 2 amazing palace hotels. One is in Chettinad, 15 suites, and it's a 250-year-old mansion. And then the Patiala Palace, which was actually part of the Maharaja of Patiala's family. And then we've got it on lease from the government of Punjab for 50 years. So that's the portfolio that you see. I think both those properties have got a lot of press lately, and it's been quite interesting and challenging to do that. But it stems from this interest of actually doing differentiated properties. And I think there was a lot of room available in the heritage space to do something, to do unique properties. And every heritage property is different. Then we have something called Zone by the Park, which is 4-star hotels, design conscious, price conscious. We started off this brand in 2012. We have about 23 or 24 of them and a pipeline to grow this over the next few years. And these are hotels, we realized, Anant, that you can't bring all these big budget, design oriented hotels into all the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But there was a lot of room for growth, and there was a lot of room for us to put our brand and also to create a new product, which was not just rooms. So even on our Zone by the Park, it has a food and beverage component. Some of them have a nice bar and a buzzy nightlife, and we built them all with banquet halls. So we felt when that a lot of our competition was just building rooms, whereas in a tier 2 and tier 3 city, there's a lot of food and beverage demand also. So that's how we move forward with that brand, and that will be a significant number in the next 3 to 5 years too. And then we have part of the portfolio is also some highway stops that we've done in collaboration with the government of West Bengal called Stop by Zone. That's a sub brand. So, there's Zone, there's the Park Collection. And then, in addition, as part of the Apeejay Surrendra Park Hotels balance sheet, the company that went IPO'd recently, we have a very well-loved brand called Flurries. It's almost 100 years old, and it's a legendary patisserie confectionery which started on Park Street in Calcutta, and our family bought it in the early 60s. So we now have about 102 of them in Calcutta, West Bengal. We moved to a few in Hyderabad, but about 16 to 20 in Mumbai, and with a plan to grow that out substantially.
So from a growth perspective, I think about 30-40% of your portfolio is owned, or even more at the moment?
I would say, yeah, I guess you could say that. Out of 35 hotels, less than 10 are owned by us.
Less
The
than
rest
10,
are
but
all either management contracts or leased.
oh, lovely. But the 10 which are owned have large inventories.
I won't even say 10, 8. So are owned by us. And those are, so the smallest one would be Navi Mumbai, which has 80 rooms. Actually, Vishakhapatnam is only 66, but now we're building another 100 rooms there. So they're all expanding, some of the older properties. And yeah, so 66 is the smallest, which is Vishakhapatnam, but it's been with us for a long time. And the largest is Hyderabad at 278 rooms.
I just heard about this acquisition you did of this piece of land in Bombay. So going forward, what's the growth strategy going to be like? And are you going to be going more asset heavy, asset light, or a mix?
So we're doing all. And, certainly the way we want to grow and we want to double our room count, it will be doubled in the next 4 years. And that is through 3, 4 different ways. Of course, building out the Zone by the Park, Zone Connect brands through management contracts and leased opportunities. And there are quite a few signed on, and they will keep coming in the pipeline. So one is that. Secondly, we're building out about 5 of our own properties. We have a land bank which we're building out. So there's Pune, where we have a 200-room property under the final stages of permission. We have Vishakhapatnam and Navi Mumbai. Both are existing properties, and both have great potential now with certainly Navi Mumbai, where the new airport, we're just 4 kilometers away from it. So we have 80 rooms. We're now going to take that to about almost 300 rooms. But that means a lot of kind of restructuring that whole property, which we'll do, and we build a new building. And then Vishakhapatnam again is now almost becoming the state capital again. So we've got plans which are again in the final stages of approval, where we'll build another 100 rooms. And it's right on the water. It's a beautiful location. And then we have a mixed-use development in Calcutta. It's on the EM Bypass Road. And that's going to be about 100 apartments for sale, along with a 200-room hotel. And then the fifth one is land in Jaipur, which is a 5-acre plot, which we will build out maybe at the end of after
It's
4 years.
towards in Kukas or towards the
Kukas.
center, towards the
Yeah.
side?
Yeah.
Lovely. So
And so we're looking at acquisitions. We just acquired this property in Mumbai, which you were talking about. So Mumbai it was running as a service apartment, and we have just in the process of finishing the acquisition. And it was running as a service apartment. We're going to convert it into more rooms, as many rooms as we can get, and launch that, I hope, by next year, within a year or so, because it's already in good condition.
amazing. So, you've also been expanding your margins. I've been seeing the results. You've been doing phenomenally well, and I think the highest occupancy in the segment in the country. So, can you tell us a little bit more about
All the financial parameters. Yeah, I think the team has done a great job of managing the EBITDA margins and delivering on not just on customer experience, but also on the cost front. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we do the leading occupancy in the country at 91% or 92%. And that's been consistent. Even during COVID, we did 67% as an average of the whole company. So I think that has been the strategy, because they're all city center properties. How do you keep them full? You keep it buzzing with the nightlife. So people are coming not just in the daytime, they come at nighttime, and then they want to stay there and you also do higher weekend occupancies because of the nightlife and entertainment in the property.
So, do you think that's your key differentiating factor to achieve those high occupancies, or is there some other magic sauce? Because
No,
91% is
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And I
Yes.
think one of our hotels, which is in Calcutta, does regularly 99% to 100%. So they're constantly churning customers and people, and yet making sure that they have fun and they keep on coming back, because repeat customers are also part of that, right? We do like about 25% of repeat customers.
So, another question which I had was that you're the first lady of Indian hospitality helming uh, such a large listed organization. You must have faced certain challenges. Can you tell us what kind of challenges have you faced being a woman in hospitality for all the young ladies who are watching?
Young women. Um, so I have never made gender an issue in my life. So I think one of the things, if you just don't, it's not part of what I do. I mean, I would like to be a good manager or a bad manager. It's not that I see myself as a woman leader, or necessarily I just see myself as a leader. And part of that I think is also the way I was brought up. I mean, I went to a girls' school. I was in leadership as a student. Then I went to a college in the US, which was very much on the forefront of gender rights. And so we were always kind kind of push to achieve and not to make it a gender issue. Okay, I'm not saying there wasn't there. For me, when I joined the business, was more that, okay, fine, I was very young. So no one could believe that I was a young person in the responsible pay. I'm sure you've gone through it too. So, so how is this young person in the making the decisions? So I felt that in the beginning was I was okay, fine. My title was marketing manager or something else. I was acting general manager. Then finally you start, going out and um, representing the company. So it was more about age. I never let the gender rear its head.
And when did you take up the leadership of the company as the managing director and chairman?
No, I'm not the managing director. I'm the chair.
Chairman.
But I was the marketing manager. Then I think I used to call myself president.
So yeah,
But I created my own titles because there was nobody else. My uncle and my mother were not interested in giving me titles, but I was there, I was a director, whatever else. But um, I guess, officially, I never had an appointment letter, I can tell you that much. Until much later. I think maybe in 1999 or something like that, 99, 2000. And then, in fact, when we were coming up to this IPO, you have to prove that you're employed by the company and everything else. So that only was much later. So I can't prove that I was working there in any official capacity in 1988. I have my visiting cards, but I had no appointment letter. You're working in a family business,
it
so
never
very
happens.
often it doesn't happen. And
With us
actually,
as well.
I never had this conversation with my father that, oh, no, nowadays you get officially hired because you have to get an official salary and things like
That's
that.
because of the
Right. It was a private limited company, so I was being paid by the family. So I never had the appointment letter, and I never had this discussion with my father that, after I finished, 3 years or 4 years in this role, I'll go to the shipping company or I'll go to this company. There was no formal induction done or anything like that. I just worked and I learned from him, and I'm glad I had that opportunity to do that. And, and I have to tell you, it was like an induction. Like he would just explain things to me, and then we had the one office in the hotel, and his office was just down the road on Parliament Street. And so every morning, at least the first few months, every morning and every evening, he'd spend an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening with me. And morning, he'd explain some things, other things would come up. There were other HODs. I learned a lot from the HODs and asking questions. There was no general manager. So I was the marketing manager. So I went on sales calls, I sold pastries, I did whatever. And I learned and I asked, the chief engineer who then worked with me for almost 20 years, that, like, what is this and what is the plumbing? And, I didn't even know what FIT was, right? So you learned all the jargon and slowly. And then my dad started only spending time in the evening, like just like 1 hour in the evening or half an hour, because so I was catching on. And I think then my designation became acting general manager. He did it. So then slowly he weaned me off. And then he was only coming on Saturdays and explaining things to me. And he did it in his own way. And then of course he passed away. So I never had that conversation. That what next?
Any anecdotes from that time? Would love to.
No anecdotes. I mean, I'm a very bad anecdote person because I have a very bad memory for these strange things. But it was fun. I mean, I as I said, I went on sales calls, and it was just actually going to represent the company. And that's when people would wonder, who's this girl? So there's me and a salesperson. And some of those people are still friends of mine, colleagues of mine. Some of them have passed on. But you went and made sales calls on a say, a Ram Kohli of Creative Travels, Arjun Sharma's father Inder, and the Gulam Naqshband. So I knew all that generation of people. And then we actually, I mean, I should tell you about your grandfather, Mr. L.P. Gupta. So, who was my colleague.
Wow.
So when I joined the business in 88. And in 2000, around that time, Mr. Bicky Oberoi, your grandfather L.P. Gupta, I think Habib Rahman, and I think Gautam Khanna was also there representing EIH, and a few others. They basically decided to start something called the Hotel Association of India because they felt that FHRAI was not focused on just the needs of the hospitality, and it was different. There was a lot of heartburn when that happened, but everyone was saying, look, we're members of that, we're members of this, and it's just a focus group, and there are hardly some 50 hotels that were members. So they started, and your grandfather was and grandmother who used to come for all the meetings, and we had all these conferences and everything else. Um, it was fantastic, and I had such a good time with him because he was such a so fond of life and happy guy. I don't know if you
I spent a
remember
lot
him.
of time. He used to go on a, like, he was 92. He used to go on a wheelchair to Surya Kiran in an old little
Office
office,
there.
an
I've
old
been to
little
that
dungeon,
office
yeah, old
also.
little dungeon there, and it was ridiculous. Like, but he had the zest for life, and he loved his work. Yes,
He loved it, and he set it up. So there was him, and then Mr. Oberoi, and them, and all of them. I think he was also a cigar smoker.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So then they all smoked cigars and left me out of the picture. But it was fun because you learned them. They were in the industry. They knew everything from the year dot. And I was the only woman on that board. And I was the youngest.
And I think HAI has in a lot of ways become the most prominent.
Yeah. And it has, because it just focuses on hospitality and Indian hospitality.
So, how has life changed after your very successful listing? And because it's completely different, right? Running a family setup to a listed entity.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's very different. I mean, you're completely in focus, and your every minute thing that you do is in focus, and one has to get used to it. You get used to all sorts of calls asking why you're doing this and why you're not. So, from investors, and I think it's quite interesting because investors throw a different lens onto your company. And of course, we realized that when we were preparing for the IPO and doing this and having multiple meetings. This IPO has been many years in the making because we were on a roadshow in 2020, and we had to shut the roadshow down because COVID. And so all our plans and all these hotels that I'm talking about that we're building, that was all happening in 2019 and 2020. So according to me, it was great that we did this. It was something that was waiting to happen, and we needed this to happen as a milestone for the company. So I think, so the whole IPO process started in 1920. And we were ready for it for much before that because we had taken private equity in 2007. So this was something we were waiting for. COVID hit in 2020, just the week that we were doing our road shows. And it was very disappointing. And I mean, more than even COVID, I think that was really such a tough thing because we were preparing and ready to go. And it was, it was going to be fantastic and solve many of our debt issues, etc. And help us, chart this, build out the hotels and to do all the investments we wanted to do. So not only did we have COVID happening, but we had to abort these plans. So I think the first month and a half, I was shell shocked. Anyway, survived all that, and then the company did well and really well during the COVID years too, and we stayed afloat. And so this IPO happening now in 2024 was just fantastic. Company is ready for it. We're ready for it. Yes, there's a lot more people watching you, but I think that's also good. We've got so many of our hotel fans and people who believe in the brand who have supported us. And I think that's really also rewarding. You hear, and the people give you ideas, give you thoughts about what you can do. And I think also there are a lot of opportunities that come your way as a listed company.
So how are you juggling, because we also are a part of a family business, right?
Yes.
So how are you juggling family and the entity's board from a shareholding perspective, and how do you see it as different from prior to the IPO?
So our businesses are owned equally by me, my sister Preeti, and my brother Karan. So three of us are owners. And as I said, there are multiple businesses. There's shipping, there's tea business we've actually exited. We're just in the FMCG part. And we have schools, we have warehousing, logistics, and real estate. So we have multiple businesses. We luckily there's enough of room for us to operate independently. I've been running the hotels and been involved in the hotels since 1988. And, but my brother is on the board. And so he works on the financing and really, strategy along with me. But I look at the operations and things like that. That being said, everybody has an opinion, so it's good. My sister runs a real estate and logistics business. And my brother is the chair of the company, the overall parent company, as well as he handles the tea and the shipping. And like say, I'm on the board of the shipping. So one of the things that we did, and as a family business, we developed a whole holding structure and a family constitution and a family vision. So we did that in 2000, and that's something that has guided us since then, and has helped us manage our wealth, our operations, and it's given us all independence as well as a good way of living.
Amazing.
With each other.
And I think it's very important because sort of if the ship is aligned, it moves a lot faster.
Exactly. And there are always little bumps. Some business does better, some does this thing, and everybody pulls along. It's not always perfect, but we are, God has been kind.
What about succession planning?
So when we started this 2000, when we wrote out all this family vision and mission, there was only just three of us. None of us was married. Now we've come a long way. All three are married. We have 6 children between us. The eldest, who two are about to be 21, and the youngest is 7. So we now have to start planning and looking at that. I mean, and it's important that there's of course wealth and there's responsibility for that, but there's also the running businesses and how we do it in the next generation. Is it going to be the same way that we got into it? Hopefully not, because all three of us got into the business. I mean, in one sense, there was no choice at that time. Like my sister actually studied architecture, but could never practice as an architect. And even though she's a good architect and qualified, but she luckily, in one sense, manages a real estate portfolio. So there is a kind of a creative outlet and expression of that. But, so she was not able to fulfill that part, but she does the development and things like that. So it's also architectural. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how the next generation is going to come in. I think that's something that we have to start thinking about now. How did you all do it in your family?
We've actually not solved for it right now. It's basically we all operating independent businesses. Our parent generation is running the
main businesses.
the family businesses. Yeah, like we run the management arm, the leasing arm, and so that's how it is right now. But we are also in the process of creating a family constitution. I think that's the most important.
Yes.
Because it adds structure, and since it's far more complicated than your family, so I think it'll take us some time, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah, you have quite a few members in the family, right?
Yes, so we are creating like immediate family, then the larger family, then it's sort of, and obviously in the largest family we're looking to have a separation of businesses. Yeah. So you were awarded the Padma Shri in 2012. Can you tell us more about the experience?
Yeah, I think being awarded the Padma Shri was quite a shock and was unexpected, because I think normally they do not give to such young people. But when I met the people at the Padma Shri thing, they said, no, we're looking for younger people to give it to. Of course, subsequently, it's an up and down thing. Yeah, it was quite unexpected. And I was actually sitting at Harvard Business School doing a course, and the time difference, and suddenly I woke up to this news, and it was like all over the place, and my phone crashed because there were like so many messages. It's a great validation of what I've done so far, but there's always more to do. So I think in the Padma Shri is a great recognition. It also puts focus on the industry, because hospitality is always given a bad rap. It's changed now a bit more, but so it was very rewarding and very meaningful.
And have you ever thought of tying up with international brands from a loyalty perspective or from a distribution perspective?
So we have, since the early 2000s, we were part of small luxury hotels of the world and design hotels for a long time, because there was a lot more synergy between what we did and what design hotels did. Then we have our own loyalty program. We have almost 200,000 plus members, and that drives quite a bit of revenue as well as repeat customers. And now, one hotel of ours is with Preferred Hotels from a distribution point of view, and the Patiala Hotel has just signed on and become members of Relais Chateau.
Oh, lovely.
So, obviously during the COVID years, we just said, let's just take a break and then we look for other partnerships. So, it is there more from a distribution point of view. And I think once we finish some renovations in some of the older hotels, we'll look at that.
So, you are open to that. I don't know how far you're going to go from 91% occupancy, but I'm sure it'll sort of help with the ADRs.
Yeah, and I think, we are largely, I would say 80% of our customer base is domestic. So, though having said that, there are some strong loyalty programs here now. So let's see.
So, you must have seen you must have seen, like, as far as I can remember, but I'm sure you'll be able to add Kargil war, you've seen the recent war, you've seen COVID, 2001. These are things which I have seen in my sort of lifetime. And so what is the toughest time for you as a leader of the Park Hotels, and how you overcame it, like, as much depth as you can?
So you remember I told you that I joined the business in 1988, and the first day at the Park Delhi, the occupancy was 7 or 8 rooms.
Yes, you mentioned.
And there was no money. When it came to COVID, it took me exactly back to that. And I don't think I was worried about how business would come back. I mean, I had seen zero business practically. So when it was zero in COVID, I think I was very calm. I think my resilience came from then. But I've seen the worst. I've seen how a hotel can go from that 7-room occupancy to like 95 or 98% that they do. So I didn't feel discouraged. I think COVID was more, people were more scared about lives. That was a different thing. I think the business was not such a worry for me. I mean, remember I told you that it's also that we had to abort our IPO. So it was like a double whammy. I'm sitting there and I don't know, it was like end of March or beginning of April saying, oh my God. So there was also luckily the government did give a relaxation for a lot of the loans and things like that. But otherwise, the whole idea of doing the IPO was to pay off our debt and to start building out new rooms. But here you had zero income. That zero occupancy didn't trouble me.
I always say that those 2 months of COVID and sort of my entire 16, 17 years I've spent in hospitality, the learning on those 2 months was far greater.
Yeah.
Because
no, and you learn how to manage with zero income. You have to switch off everything. How do you I mean, like, what is your cost structure? I mean, I think that's what came, in the first month. It was just like, okay, you don't need, like, everything is zero, right? So how do you bring it down to the minimum? What is that minimum? Then you start, you must have done activity-based counting. Then you realize what the activities cost. And, but I think what was interesting to see how my team, which was so used to running very active, busy hotels, they had nothing to do. And they were finding it really tough. I mean, you're there, you're walking around, you're interacting with customers, doing this, doing that. And there was nothing to do. How do you fill in your hours?
We had pigeons flying. And I remember that that Air India business was there, 1,500 API.
Yeah.
And I went to my father and I told him that we have 44 people on our rolls right now. And if we took a spreadsheet to him with the front office manager, because obviously the GM was sent on leave. And we took that business, and then Marriott, Radisson, all the hotels followed.
Yeah.
Because you had no air conditioning, because they're not allowed to put the air conditioning, but you wanted staff. And then one of our hotels in Bhavnagar, we repurposed it as a hospital. Because
you
that
had
time,
to just you just scramble for business,
you were
whatever
like
they are.
cockroach.
No, so either there were many hotels that stayed open, and then you survived. If you shut down completely, I think it became a mistake for some people.
Yes, it did.
And then they opened, I think, in 2021, a lot of them, because then you send off the staff, you ramp up. It was a tough time. It was tough because of the human cost, actually.
Yes, that was the toughest bit.
That was the toughest bit. It was
emotionally,
really,
it took a huge toll on me,
it took
at
a
least.
toll. I think, yeah.
And so, and after that, you've seen some crazy bumper years. Now, these past 3 years must have been the best years for the company.
They've been solid years, and I think certainly from a hospitality point of view, Indian hospitality is really at a growth phase. There's a huge supply-demand mismatch and I think that is going to continue at least for the next 3 to 5. You know how painful it is to put up a hotel. There's so many pain points, and just getting permissions and getting that last bit of a stamp before you start construction. It takes a long time. It takes an undue amount of time, and I think that makes our industry difficult to get into, and so and it's difficult to complete projects.
That's another question which I had, because it's very tough to build hotels in different states.
Yes.
Because the top builders in the country have tried to go from one state to another and have failed miserably, because it's like the licensing, the government clearances. How you manage that? Because even today we find it extremely tough to build
Yeah,
from ground up.
of
It's
course,
much
of course.
easier to, let's say, take a lease or a management
To
contract.
acquire,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a faster way of growing, and
Yes.
that's why we kind of went into a little bit of that. But we still want to build our own properties, and that's where you get stuck for a lot of permissions.
So how have you built a team for that, or how?
We have a team, but as you said, it's all local, right? So you have to then hire then local talent and people to be able to navigate the local realities of getting permissions.
So where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And other than hospitality, what else?
So, from a business point of view, in the next 5 years, we're going to double up our hotel rooms. We have about 2,400 odd rooms now, going up to about 5,400. Again, through this mix of um, ownership of hotels and building out our own rooms, about 900 of those. And then looking at a combination of management contracts and lease contracts to build out the park as well as zone by the park. And of course, the Flurries business, which also will hopefully reach about 300 odd outlets in the next 5 years. We're now at 102. And that's a very exciting business because
High growth.
it's in this high growth, QSR, that type of area. So that's on the business front. On the personal front, of course, I have lots of interests, whether it's the arts or traveling and philanthropy in terms of actually working with women's rights organizations as well as art foundations and things like that. Some of our own foundation work too. So I enjoy that, and I make sure I keep a balance between what I do off work and what I do at work.
What kind of work-life balance do you subscribe to?
No, I have a lot of time for my friends
Yeah.
and family. So I make sure that I always bring that into every day. It's not that I'm sitting there working till 11 o'clock at night. If I need to, I will. And of course, with this business, you work sometimes Saturdays, Sundays. It really depends on what you're doing. And as I laugh with somebody, every restaurant we go to is like a work, right? It's because you're always analyzing, looking, and seeing new things. So that's also part of work, research. And so I enjoy that. So I enjoy spending time with friends and family. I enjoy traveling a lot and seeing things. I mean, whether it's an art show or a fashion show, or I like staying plugged in what's happening with cities. The thing is, the more cities you do, then you have to do more. Like now, I'm building something in Pune, but I'm like trying to figure out what makes the city tick. But unless you go there and talk to people there and see what it is and spend some time there, um, you don't understand it. And for me, that's important because that's how you build a hotel and how you design a place that is very rooted into what is happening in the city. It's not just going there and say, okay, fine, tomorrow I have to build a hotel in the Pune, tell the designer and just build it. That's not the type of hotels I do because I want to be in the nightlife. And what do you build? Do you build a casual thing? Do you have a Korean restaurant? What do you do? So I think that's a very important study process that I do before I even start finalizing this concept or that concept or whatever.
I think it's critical to put the soul in the building.
Yeah.
To study the location and the locality.
Exactly.
And I think you sort of started with that. Otherwise, earlier the hotels were all in India were like very similar.
And not lively, vibrant places. And that's what I think the park brings. And that's what our very unique part of our culture.
A book which has had a major impact in your life.
Actually, I won't single out a book, but I've been reading, because we were doing the hotel in Patiala, I was reading a lot of historical books about the Patiala royal family, about, kind of the Maharajas and Maharanis at that time. So I did a lot of that type of reading. Yeah.
A city which you go to for creative inspiration?
So one of the places that I enjoy most where I relax, and then, I think sometimes inspiration comes more when you're relaxed and you have time to do that, is Goa. I love going to Goa. I don't go often enough anymore. But I think for me, travel is a great inspiration. And so I just like discovering new places. And I think a lot of it is also, particularly when you go to cities, is just doing walking tours and exploring the city on foot. So I think I enjoyed that very much.
A hotelier other than yourself who you admire?
Oh, so many. And I think now there's so many fantastic new concepts that are happening the world over. So I think hospitality is completely changed. I will not give you one answer.
If not a hotelier, what would you be?
Well, I've answered that question many times, and I always used to say that I'll become a chef because I love the the cooking process, and I've studied it and everything else. So I love that. But I think now I do it all through my chefs, and luckily they all work with me on many things. So I think I do it through the chefs. But that I would have become a chef. I would have done more, let me say.
Anything you would like to sort of, you know, things which you find are very important for young people who are joining hospitality? What do you think they should do, like in terms of education, in terms of exposure?
See, I was lucky that I never studied hospitality. So I was never pegged into kind of a box or the lines that people learn in hospitality school, etc. So to me, I was able to create what I was creating because I questioned things and I said, why should it be done this way? It can be done in some other way, or question. And I think that would be my advice to young people joining not just hospitality is question, why should it be done this way? And how will you bring that? You have to bring that questioning idea every day to your job. And I think I do that even now. As I was saying, I was just in a meeting and I said, but why are we doing this? And have you all thought about you think about the customer, or you think about the person who's working in that area. You have to look at it from many different viewpoints.
That's so true, because like, how do you differentiate yourself if you don't keep questioning and if you're not curious?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.